Why, hello! Hey, YouTube friends, how's it going? All is well here at Dee's Creative Corner. My name is Danielle Coleman. I'm a Creative Memories Independent Advisor. I love scrapbooking, and so do you. That's why you guys are here. So welcome back. I appreciate each and every one of you tuning in and watching my little video. And today we're going to continue with a little bit of Christmas in July. We're at the end of July, but I have my Mexico trip that I'm still working on, and I figured it was a good time to continue with that little Christmas in July. So I just again want to thank my new subscribers, my existing, those coming on. You're helping my little channel grow a little at a time, so I appreciate it. So I apologize, my voice is a little raspy. We had a busy weekend. We were go. I was out with on the Harley, the air and allergies. I have something going on, so it's a little raspy. I'm sorry, so just bear with me. So I'm gonna flip you guys over and let's get started. All right. Hello. All right, so like I said, we're gonna continue with my Mexico trip that I took back in December 2024 over Christmas, and I thought these little sand snowmen were so cute. And yeah, I have the perfect collection that we had Christmas on the coast, and I'm playing with that collection, and it's a little different having Christmas in the paradise warm. And yeah, you guys know if you're from the cold, it's a little different. So that is what I'm planning on. So I got my inspiration from the blog, and theirs is a 1-page. I'm going to extend it and make a 2-page just because I always do a double layout. So I'm not quite following it. It was just a little bit of a jumping off point, and I have 5 photos, and these on the left I'm going to stick with the 4x6, and then these I'm not sure. I may crop them down and try 4x5 or 3.5x5. I'm not quite sure. And when I was looking through the paper, I was debating to kind of follow, but I don't generally use the cards or the designer paper as my base. I always use cardstock. And also in the sketch they had this blue underneath for your base, and then we're just building off of that. And I thought what I would do is I would stick and continue with, I'm going to do a white cardstock as the base, and then we're going to pull in the different colors of the designer paper. So and also I was contemplating, like I had said, I wanted to potentially use the sand color as a base. But then when I was looking at the borders that I'm going to do, I'm going to pull in these Christmas on the Coast border embellishments, and that's not going to work. So I will hold on to this paper and use it on another layout. So I'm going to stick with the traditional white and build there. We're going to use our decorative trimmer and add some layering for this border. We're going to use some tearing and make some strips up on the top. And so I think that's the route that I'm planning on doing. And like I said, I'm going to build on white, and I'm not sure exactly the layouts. I'll probably matte on red. I thought that would be really pretty with the Santa hat and his little scarf. So I will get my photos matted, and I'll pull out my papers here in just 1 second. Hold on. Okay, so I have my paper. I chose this white Stardust Stardust White. It has a little bit of a speckle in it, and I thought that would be fun to use. This was a promo, but they did bring this back, so this is super exciting. I kind of hoarded this paper for a while, but I'm like, I'm gonna use it. So I thought that would be pretty for a background. And I do have my 12-inch decorative trimmer, and what I was thinking is we're gonna just do a little border, and because on the blog, they had just both of these kind of layered, and because we're spreading this into a 2-page, what we're going to do is we're going to just take and we'll use this sandpaper that came with the, and I am going to kind of, I don't have to watch the actual orientation just because this is a sand, and I'm just going to go about 1 inch, and I'm just going to give it a good little cut, so then it goes like that. And then what I'm going to do is with the remaining here, I'm just going to go ahead and bring in my 12-inch trimmer and then cut this at 1 inch. That way I basically had one cut with the decorative trimmer, and that's just the first swell is just a little over 1 inch because we're not going to see that much of it. So then we'll just trim that and we'll put that aside. And then I was thinking, so we'll have that as a layer, excuse me, and then with the leftover from my last layout, I had this ho paper, and in the blog they had torn and used that up on top. So, and you can use a tearing tool, and I'm going to do it about 1 inch, and when you tear, you just tear towards yourself. It doesn't have to be perfect. You know, there's different ways to do it, and I could use my tearing tool, but I'm just gonna do this and keep tearing towards myself, and that's not, there we go. And then I'll just kind of even that out a little bit. There's that one. And then what I'm going to do again is I'll just cut this at 1 inch, so then I mean, I do like the way that is showing more of the white, but I'm okay. I'm just gonna go with that. And then I want to try to ink around the edges. So we'll do that. So I cut this at about 1 inch. So there we go. That one's a little bit torn, but it's okay. I'll just give that a little like so. And then for these to stand out, I'm going to pull in my little ink tool. Hold on. And there we go. This is just Distress Oxide Ground Espresso. It's a brown, and when you ink around the edges, you can use the little, there's finger daubers, or you can just use this, and I just give it just a little bit, just like so. And I won't do it all on camera, but just if you want to ink the edges, it gives it a little bit more of a contrast when you lie it down on the white or this Stardust. So yeah, we're doing a little inking, and what I'll do is I'll do all of these and then I'll be right back. Okay, so I have adhered the borders along the top and bottom, and you notice I inked around the edges. I don't always do the inking, but I think this really made these edges pop on this particular layout. So now we're just going to kind of lay our photos down and try to get a sense of how we're going to do some embellishing. And we're going to make some tags up here, and then we'll have a little scene, a beach scene with some snowmen, and then we'll work our way up and maybe follow a few tags over in this area is what I was thinking. Going off of the blog, like I said, theirs was just a one-page layout, and so, and I did trim these to 4 by 5, and I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to overlap this just a hair. It's okay if our feet are covering, and then we'll kind of do something like that. And then for my tags, what I'm doing is I have, these are just 2-inch pieces, and I'm going to bring in my tag maker, and we'll just slide those in and give it a punch, and then we'll be able to, I'm going to have that upside down, and I'm going to have a tag up here, and then I'm going to have this, a banner, and then another tag. You'll see what I'm getting at here, and then of course we're going to trim those. And let's get my, this is the ribbon, the banner, and so I'm gonna, and again, these are all 2 inches wide, and then we will trim those down. And then I'm gonna, and I took just, this is about a 1/4 of an inch. This is, let's see, 1 3/4. So I'm going to layer that, and then we're using our tools. I brought in the palm punch, and I thought we could, so once those are kind of layered like so, we're gonna have the white, and then we're gonna just put a couple palm trees of different colors. Oops, that's kind of cut off there. But just to give you an idea, I'm gonna do the green. I'll have to punch, but anyways, here. Do the green on that one. I'm gonna punch another one because the leaves kind of got taken off. And then we'll do red, and I'll do a little white on there. So there, you know, that's just gonna be a little bit of a cluster up in this area. And also on the blog, they had a border coming across the top, a sticker border. I'm not gonna do that just because you won't see much of it. I might come in and we'll maybe do the border over here and not do the tags. So I think that's what we'll do down up here, the tags. And then I will bring in, I got the embellishing here, the stickers. So obviously I want to do these cute little snowman, and I did see another little snowman. So we'll just kind of build and cluster some stuff down in there. Let's use this. This was a, and then I saw a cute little, that waves of Christmas joy. That will layer nicely on top of that. So we'll do something like that. And well, let's see what other, that joy would look cool, maybe up in there with, we could see what I was, just maybe cut half of those off. I'll pull that and just kind of cut like something down like that and do a little embellishing up there. So, all right, let me get these tags finished off and I will be right back. Okay, so I finished up the tags and I overlapped this center one just a hair, and I adhered our photos. And so let's bring in our stickers and our embellishing. So like I said, I was gonna do something like so. I've pulled out this little Christmas tree. We can tuck that down in there. We can put this guy over here, and I liked this little group we could put down here. And then on the blog it had like a cheers up here. I can't find where that was, but I'm not gonna worry about that. And then what I think I'm gonna do is I'm going to just take this and I don't want it. What I'll do is I want that last candy cane. We might, how far? No, I'll cut it right about here. I'm gonna take that star off, and then we'll see here. And then I'm going to adhere this just like so. And what I'll end up doing is I'll put something over here. I was thinking like Joy. Somewhere in there. I might have screwed that little Christmas one up, but it's okay. So kind of like that, and then maybe we could put some of this down over. We'll kind of just, so it's kind of covering the where I cut off, just like so. And then we will, and of course you can use your foam squares too. And there, and then we will get this stuff adhered. And then I'll just have just a little spot for some journaling, and then this is pretty much complete. It's not terribly difficult for the cuts, by no means, and you know, you're just playing with the stickers and whatever works for your pictures. There. Then we will just tuck this a little bit underneath the tree, just a hair. Bring that down. And then we can bring these leaves kind of, we can maybe just tuck something like that. And then our little snowman, we can put the rest of the group right there. And ho 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 can kind of go right down there. And throw some of these little sand dollars in here. I don't want the blue. I don't. Okay. Anything else that we can add? I think that's good. All right, my friends. Let's flip you guys back over, and that did not work. All right. Thank you so much for staying with me. I hope that was okay. I just played a little bit with the inking around some of the easy cuts that we had, and then just threw some embellishing, and we played with our tools as well. So, okay. Until next time, thank you so much. Have a fantastic day or night wherever you're watching. Bye-bye for now.